I was standing in the front row of my sister's wedding when she looked at me with eyes that held nothing but contempt and announced to 300 guests that I was no longer family. The words hit me like a physical blow. The room went silent. Every single person turned to look at me. And in that moment, I felt something inside me break. Something that had been cracking for years. Something that would never fully heal. But what my sister didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that her groom was about to do something that would change everything. Something that would expose a truth so devastating that her perfect wedding would become the worst night of her life. The pastor's hand was still raised. The music was still playing. My sister had just turned her back on me in front of everyone I had ever known. And her fiancé, the man she was about to marry, stepped forward and asked for silence. Not to defend her, not to smooth things over, but to tell the truth. A truth that I had been carrying for years. A truth that my sister had spent her entire life denying. And when he spoke, I watched my sister's face transform from anger to confusion to absolute horror. Before we continue, if you enjoy emotional family dramas, hidden truths, and unforgettable endings, subscribe to Life Tangle Secrets. Every story here reminds us that the truth always finds its way into the light. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the person I was before my sister destroyed me in front of everyone I loved, before I understood that some people will rewrite history to protect themselves, before I learned that the people closest to you are often the ones who hurt you the most. My name is Amelia Hartwell, and I grew up in a family that looked perfect on the surface. My father was a successful architect. My mother was a social worker. We had a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood. We went to church every Sunday. We had family dinners every Thursday. We were the kind of family that other families envied, but behind closed doors, we were falling apart. My sister Victoria was 2 years older than me. She was the golden child. She was beautiful and charismatic, and everyone loved her. She got straight A's without trying. She was captain of the cheerleading squad. She dated the most popular boys. She was everything I was not. I was quiet. I was awkward. I was the kind of person who blended into the background, and my parents made it very clear in 1,000 small ways that Victoria was the one they were proud of. I don't blame my parents entirely. They were doing what they thought was right. They were trying to be fair, but fair is not the same as equal, and equal is not the same as loving. My parents gave Victoria everything: new clothes, new cars, private tutors, and I got the leftovers. I got hand-me-downs. I got used textbooks. I got the silent treatment when I asked for anything more. Victoria knew she was the favorite. She used it. She used it to get what she wanted. She used it to control me. She used it to make me feel small. When we were teenagers, she would borrow my clothes without asking and return them ruined. She would tell my parents lies about me to get me in trouble. She would steal my boyfriends, not because she wanted them, but because she wanted to prove that she could. And my parents always believed her. They always took her side. They always made me feel like I was the problem. I was 17 years old when I realized my sister was not just difficult. She was dangerous. She was the kind of person who would destroy anyone who got in her way. And I was the person who got in her way most often. I tried to stay out of her path. I tried to make myself small. I tried to be invisible. But it didn't matter. She always found a way to hurt me. She always found a way to remind me that I was nothing compared to her. When I graduated from high school, I left home. I went to college across the country. I told myself I was starting a new life. I told myself I was leaving Victoria behind. I told myself that distance would heal the wounds she had carved into me. I was wrong. Distance didn't heal anything. It just gave me space to breathe. It gave me time to build walls. It gave me the illusion that I was safe. I built a life. I became a nurse. I worked in a pediatric unit. I loved my job. I loved the children I cared for. I loved the families who trusted me. I loved the feeling of making a difference. I was good at my job. I was kind and patient and compassionate. Everything my sister was not. I found a partner, someone who saw me, someone who loved me, someone who made me feel like I was enough. We had a child, a beautiful daughter named Lily. And I thought, for the first time in my life, that I had finally escaped, that I had finally broken free from the shadow of my sister. But my sister never let go. She never let me go. She would call me in the middle of the night to tell me she was having a crisis. She would show up at my door unannounced. She would leave messages for me at work. She would write me long emails about how much she loved me and how much she missed me, and I would let her back in, every time, because she was my sister, because I wanted to believe that she had changed, because I wanted to believe that families could heal. The engagement happened 2 years before the wedding. Victoria called me to tell me she was getting married. She was excited. She was happy. She sounded like a different person. She asked me to be her maid of honor. She asked me to help her plan the wedding. She asked me to be part of her special day, and against all of my better judgment, I said yes. I threw myself into the wedding planning. I spent weekends with Victoria. I helped her pick out the venue. I helped her choose the flowers. I helped her taste the cake. We laughed together. We cried together. We talked about our childhood. We talked about our hopes. We talked about our dreams. And for a brief moment, I believed that we had finally found our way back to each other. I believed that we could be sisters again, real sisters, the kind who loved each other unconditionally. I was wrong. The wedding was at a grand estate. There were flowers everywhere. There were candles everywhere. There were guests from all over the country. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. Everything was exactly the way Victoria had wanted it. And then she turned to me in front of 300 people and told me I was no longer family. I still don't know exactly what triggered it. I still don't know what happened in the moments before the ceremony. Maybe something her friends said. Maybe something my mother whispered in her ear. Maybe nothing at all. Maybe she had been planning it all along. Maybe she had only pretended to forgive me so she could humiliate me in public. All I know is that she stepped away from her groom, looked directly at me, and announced that I was not welcome in her life anymore. I have decided that Amelia is no longer part of this family, she said. She has been a toxic presence in my life for years. She has tried to sabotage my happiness. She has tried to ruin my relationship, and I will not allow her to be here on the most important day of my life. The room went silent. My mother was crying. My father was staring at the floor. The guests were whispering, and I stood in the front row, completely frozen, completely shattered, completely unable to move or speak or breathe. I had done nothing to deserve this. I had done everything she had asked me to do. I had supported her. I had loved her. I had believed in her, and she was humiliating me in front of everyone I had ever known. And then her groom stepped forward. His name was Marcus. He was a good man, a kind man. I had always liked him. I had always thought he was too good for my sister. And in that moment, I saw something in his eyes that I had never seen before. Resolve, determination, and something else. Something that looked like relief. "Excuse me," he said. His voice was steady. His voice was calm. His voice was the only thing in that room that made sense. "I have something to say." My sister turned to him. She was confused. She was trying to smile. She was trying to pretend that everything was fine. But something was wrong. Something was very wrong. And I watched her face transform as Marcus pulled an envelope out of his pocket and held it up for everyone to see. "I know about the letters," he said. "I know about the lies. I know about the checks you forged in your sister's name. I know about the custody battle you tried to start. I know about the phone calls you made to social services. I know about everything you did to try to destroy her. And I have proof. I have proof of all of it." My sister's face went white. Her hands started shaking. She tried to grab the envelope from him. She tried to stop him from speaking, but he stepped back. He stepped away from her, and he looked at me with an expression that I will never forget. He looked at me like he was apologizing, like he had known all along, like he had been waiting for this moment. "I was going to marry you," he said to my sister. "I was going to spend my life with you, but then I found these letters. I found your journals. I found the evidence of everything you have done to your sister, and I realized that I didn't know you at all. The woman I fell in love with was a lie." The room erupted. People were gasping. People were crying. People were demanding to know what was happening. My mother was screaming. My father was trying to calm everyone down. And my sister, my beautiful, perfect sister, was standing at the altar with her whole world crashing down around her. I pulled the envelope out of Marcus's hands. I opened it, and inside were letters. Letters that my sister had written to our mother. Letters that she had written to my ex-husband. Letters that she had written to my employer. Letters that she had written to anyone who might help her hurt me. If you've ever been judged, betrayed, or underestimated by the people who were supposed to love you, Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey, subscribe to Life Tangle Secrets for more unforgettable stories. I read the letters. I read them in front of everyone. I read them aloud so that everyone could hear what my sister had done. I read about how she had tried to break up my marriage. I read about how she had called Child Protective Services and told them I was an unfit mother. I read about how she had contacted my employer and told them I was stealing drugs from the hospital. I read about how she had forged my signature on checks and taken money from my accounts. I read about how she had tried to ruin my life because she was jealous of the happiness I had found, because she couldn't stand to see me succeed, because she had always believed that she was the only one who deserved love and happiness and success. My sister was sobbing. My mother was screaming. My father was trying to calm everyone down. And I stood there, reading the truth of what my sister had done to me for years, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no relief, just exhaustion. The exhaustion of someone who had been fighting for so long that they had forgotten what it felt like to rest. Victoria, I said, I have loved you my entire life. I have forgiven you for things that would have broken anyone else. I have believed in you when nobody else would. I have given you chance after chance after chance, and you used every single one of them to hurt me. You used every single one of them to try to destroy me, and I am done. I am completely and utterly done. The wedding was over. The guests left. The music stopped. The flowers wilted. And my sister stood alone at the altar, surrounded by the ruins of her beautiful day, with nothing and no one to hold on to. Marcus walked with me out of the estate. He told me he was sorry. He told me he had known about some of it for months. He told me he had been trying to find a way to tell me. He told me that my sister had tried to turn him against me. She had told him lies about me. She had told him that I was dangerous and unstable and that he needed to protect himself from me, and he had believed her. At first. But then he started to notice things that didn't add up. Things that made him start asking questions. And when he found the letters, everything finally made sense. I loved her, he said. I really loved her, but I can't love someone who would do these things to their own sister. I can't marry someone who is capable of that much cruelty. I nodded. I understood. I had loved her too, and I had been betraying myself every single time I let her back in. I didn't go to the after party. I didn't answer my mother's phone calls. I didn't respond to my father's texts. I went home. I went home to Lily. I went home to the person who actually loved me, and I let myself cry. I let myself cry for the sister I had lost. I let myself cry for the childhood I had never had. I let myself cry for the years I had wasted trying to earn love from people who were incapable of giving it. I let myself cry for the person I had been before I finally understood that some people are not worth saving. The weeks after the wedding were chaos. My parents called me constantly. They demanded that I forgive Victoria. They demanded that I let it go. They demanded that I stop making such a big deal out of everything. I listened to them. I listened to them without interrupting. And then I said the words I had been wanting to say for 30 years. I am not going to forgive her. I am not going to let it go. And I am not going to pretend that any of this is okay. She has been hurting me my entire life, and you have been enabling her. You have been protecting her. You have been choosing her over me over and over again. And I am done. I am done trying to earn your love. I am done trying to be the bigger person. I am done pretending that our family is something it is not. My mother cried. My father tried to make excuses. I didn't care. I had spent my entire life trying to be good enough for them. I had spent my entire life hoping that one day they would see me. One day they would value me. One day they would treat me like I mattered. And I had finally realized that day was never going to come. That day was never going to come because they were not capable of seeing me. They were not capable of valuing me. They were not capable of treating me like I mattered. I went to therapy. I went to support groups. I read books about dysfunctional families and toxic relationships. I learned that I was not the problem. I learned that I had never been the problem. I learned that my sister was a person with a personality disorder and that my parents were enablers and that I had been the scapegoat. I learned that the only way to heal was to walk away, to stop trying to fix people who didn't want to be fixed, to stop trying to love people who were incapable of loving me back. I learned that I had to forgive myself for believing that I was the problem, forgive myself for staying in a toxic situation for so long. Forgive myself for letting my sister hurt me over and over again. Forgive myself for not walking away sooner. I thought about Victoria sometimes. I thought about what could have been. I thought about what we could have been if things had been different. I thought about the sister I wanted her to be, the sister she could have been if she had made different choices. But I stopped wishing. I stopped hoping. I stopped waiting for her to change, because I finally understood that the sister I wanted did not exist. She had never existed. She was a fantasy I had created to protect myself from the truth. The final time I saw Victoria was in a courtroom. She had filed a lawsuit against me. She claimed that I had stolen her fiancé. She claimed that I had ruined her wedding. She claimed that I was responsible for everything that had gone wrong in her life. The judge looked at her. The judge looked at me. The judge looked at the evidence. And the judge dismissed the case. "Your sister has done nothing to you," the judge said to Victoria. "You have done everything to yourself, and I am recommending that you seek professional help." Victoria lost everything: her fiancé, her friends, her reputation, her family's respect. She tried to rebuild her life. She tried to move on, but the truth had been revealed. Everyone knew what she had done. Everyone knew the kind of person she was, and there was no going back. I don't hate her. I don't wish her ill. I don't want revenge. I just want to be left alone. I want to live my life without her shadow. I want to raise my daughter without the influence of that toxicity. I want to be free. That is the thing about truth. It always comes out. It always surfaces. It always has its day. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes decades. Sometimes it takes a public humiliation in front of 300 people. But it always comes out. And when it does, it changes everything. My life is different now. Better. I have my daughter. I have my career. I have friends who love me. I have a chosen family that sees me and values me and treats me like I matter. I have everything I always wanted. And I didn't need my sister to get it. I didn't need my parents to get it. I got it all on my own. And that is the most important lesson I have ever learned. You cannot change other people. You cannot make them love you. You cannot make them treat you with kindness or respect. You can only control yourself. You can only choose what you will accept. You can only choose who you will let into your life. I chose to walk away. I chose to protect myself. I chose to heal, and I have never regretted it for a single moment. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Life Tangle Secrets for more powerful stories where hidden truths become life-changing lessons. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.